Good morning everyone. I am Dr. Suman Ahuja, Assistant Professor, Kachikasa Department, Faculty of Ayurvedic Science. Today's topic is bronchiectasis. As seen is diagram, this is above figure is a normal bronchiole and the down in low figure it's a dilated bronchiole with full of secretions. So bronchiectasis is an abnormal and permanent dilatation of the bronchi. It can be focal or diffuse. It is a disorder and that typically affect older individual, and women are more prone to. So approximately 2:3 ratio of the patients are women. If we see the pathology, bronchodilation is associated with destructive and inflammatory changes in the walls of medium-sized airways, and it is often at the level of segmental or subsegmental bronchi. Airway inflammation is primarily mediated by the neutrophils and results in the upregulation of enzymes such as elastase and matrix metalloproteinases. These enzymes are responsible for the destruction and the inflammatory changes of the bronchi. So normal structure of the wall, including cartilage, muscle and elastic tissue, they are destroyed and they are may be replaced by the fibrous tissue. Dilated airways, they contain pools of thick purulent material, while more peripheral airways, they are often occluded by the secretions or obliterated and replaced by the fibrous tissue. Additional microscopic features are bronchial and peribronchial inflammation and fibrosis. Ulceration of bronchial walls also takes place, and there is squamous metaplasia. That changes the normal tissue and the proliferation of the mucous glands, that is mucous gland hyperplasia. The parenchyma normally supplied by the affected airways is abnormal and containing varying combination of fibrosis, emphysema, bronchopneumonia and atelectasis. Atelectasis, that is collapse of the part of the lung, lobe of the lung or the whole of the lung. As a result of inflammation, increased vascularity of the bronchial wall, there is associated enlargement of the bronchial arteries and anastomosis between the bronchial and pulmonary arterial circulation. Now, what are the patterns of bronchiectasis? In what pattern bronchiectasis takes place? Its three patterns are described, that is cylindrical bronchiectasis, varicose bronchiectasis and secular or cystic bronchiectasis. Cylindrical bronchiectasis, as the name suggests, bronchi appear uniformly dilated and end abruptly at the point that smaller airways are obstructed by the secretions. Varicose bronchiectasis, as the name suggests, there is irregularity and a beaded pattern of dilatation resembling tortuous varicose vein. Secular or cystic bronchiectasis, in this bronchiectasis, bronchi have a ballooned appearance at the periphery and they end in the blind sacs without recognizable bronchial structure distal to the sacs. If we see the etiology and pathogenesis, infection is the usual cause of the inflammation. In bronchiectasis, there are full chances of the inflammation, and the microorganisms responsible for the inflammation or responsible for the infections are Pseudomonas aeruginosa and Haemophilus influenza. They produce pigments, proteases and other toxins which cause injury to the respiratory epithelium, and that causes impair the mucociliary clearance, and the dilated airways become more susceptible to the growth of the bacteria and the colonization of the bacteria. There is a cycle with inflammation producing airway damage. That damage leads to the impaired clearance of the microorganism and the further infection. Then is in this way this vicious cycle takes place. Infectious causes, if we see, adenovirus and the influenza virus are the main viruses that cause bronchiectasis in association with the lower respiratory tract involvement, and the virulent bacterial infection with potentially necrotizing, which causes necrosis of the lung tissue such as Staphylococcus aureus and Klebsiella and the anaerobes. Infection with Bordetella pertussis, particularly in childhood, causing whooping cough. Bronchiectasis can also take place in HIV patients. Tuberculosis and non-tuberculosis bacteria can also cause this secondary infection and causes colonizing of the organisms. Now, impaired host defense mechanism also takes place in the recurrence of the infections. So, impaired localized defense is due to endobronchial obstruction, and this endobronchial endobronchial obstruction can take place due to neoplasms such as carcinoid tumors with bronchiectasis. Foreign body aspiration is an important cause of obstruction, particularly in children. Airway obstruction can also result from the bronchostenosis. Bronchostenosis due to impacted secretion, or there is outside compression by the enlarged lymph nodes. And generalized impairment of the pulmonary defense mechanism is also plays an important role in the recurrence of infection. Number one is immunoglobulin deficiency, primary ciliary disorders, cystic fibrosis with panhypogammaglobulinemia. Patients often have history of skin or sinus infection. Selective deficiency of IgG subclass, especially IgG2, has also been described in a small number of patients with bronchiectasis. Cystic fibrosis is an autoimmune disease which causes symptoms causes damage to the pancreas, damage to the liver, and also damage to the lungs. Now there is important condition, primary ciliary dyskinesia. 5 to 10% of the cases of bronchiectasis in which this is the one of the cause, and it is inherited as autosomal recessive fashion. Cilia become dyskinetic, their coordinative, repulsive forward movement is impaired, so that leads to the impairment of the bacterial clearance. Now because of this impaired bacterial clearance, recurrent upper URTI and lower respiratory tract infections takes place, such as sinusitis, otitis media, and bronchiectasis. One very important thing one should have to keep in mind is that with primary ciliary dyskinesia, males are generally infertile due to non-motile sperms. Non-infectious causes of bronchiectasis are inhalation of toxic gases such as ammonia or aspiration of acidic gastric contents. An immune response in the airway may also trigger inflammation, destructive changes, and bronchodilation. Deficiency of alpha-1 antitrypsin enzyme can also lead to emphysema and bronchiectasis. This enzyme protects bronchial walls from the destruction. Yellow nail syndrome due to hypoplastic lymphatics is also accompanied by bronchiectasis in 40% of the patients. If we see the radiographic features in chest radiograph are often non-specific, maybe normal graph with mild disease, but in secular bronchiectasis, prominent cystic space with or without airflow liquids can be seen. But if we see the CT scan, so CT scan provides excellent view of the dilated airways. So CT scan is now the standard technique for detecting or confirming the diagnosis of bronchiectasis. Laboratory finding, examination of the sputum should be done. If there is bronchiectasis is focal, then flexible fiber-optic bronchoscopy should be done to reveal the cause of endobronchial obstruction. Upper lobe involvement may be suggestive of tuberculosis or acute bronchopulmonary aspergillosis, that is fungal infection. Pulmonary function test may demonstrate airflow obstruction. Evaluation of immunoglobulins deficiency and cystic fibrosis should be considered for young patients with bronchiectasis and cyanopulmonary disease. With more widespread disease, measurement of the sweat chloride level for cystic fibrosis, structure or function assessment of nasal or bronchial cilia or sperm for primary ciliary dyskinesia, and quantitative assessment of immunoglobulins may explain a recurrent airway infection. This is the diagnostic approach. What is the approach to diagnose the bronchiectasis? Appropriate clinical history, then chest X-ray, PFT, sputum analysis. If everything is normal, then CT scan should be done. CT scan is normal, then close observation, bronchoscopy, evaluation of the gastroesophageal reflux disease. If CT is abnormal, then it should be considered that there is focal bronchiectasis or diffuse bronchiectasis. If focal bronchiectasis there, then just to rule out what is the cause of focal bronchiectasis, endobronchial obstruction should be should be ruled out with the bronchoscopy or induced sputum for AFB. Diffuse bronchiectasis, cystic fibrosis genotyping, sweat chloride test, quantitative immunoglobulin analysis, induced sputum for AFB, ciliary morphology, study of ciliary morphology and function, semen analysis, alpha-1 antitrypsin level, and aspergillus skin testing, serum IgE levels, rheumatic disease serology, and HIV test should be done. Now what should be the treatment? Treatment has three major goals: treatment of infection, particularly during acute phases, improvement in clearance of tracheobronchial secretions should be improved, reduction of inflammation, treatment of identifiable underlying problems. Antibiotics are the cornerstone of bronchiectasis management. Antibiotics are used only during acute episodes. Choice of an antibiotic should be guided by gram stain and culture of sputum. Empiric coverage with amoxicillin, chlorotrimmoxazole, levofloxacin is often given initially. Infection with P. aeruginosa is a particular concern, and it is appeared to be associated with greater rate of deterioration of lung function and worse quality of life. No firm guidelines for the length of therapy are given, but a 10 to 14 days course or longer is typically administered. To facilitate the drainage of sputum of discharge, mechanical methods and devices in appropriate positioning should be recommended. Mucolytic agent to thin secretions and allow better clearance are controversial. Bronchodilators to improve obstruction and aid clearance of secretions are helpful in patients with airway hyperreactivity and reversible airflow obstruction. Surgical therapy, and when bronchiectasis localized, the morbidity is substantial despite adequate medical therapy. Despite adequate medical therapy, if patient is not responding, then the surgical therapy should be taken into consideration. Conservative therapy including rest and antibiotics, surgical resection, bronchial arterial embolization. Although resection may be successful if disease is localized, embolization is preferable with widespread disease. This is the X-ray of bronchiectasis, and this is the slice of a CT scan in bronchiectasis. If you see, there are the bases in congestion, bronchovascular markings are prominent in the bases, and in CT scan dilated bronchioles are seen with the white margin and the secretions. Thank you. This is all about the bronchiectasis.